Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shop Stool Podcast. This is season 8, episode 2, and I'm going to try and start this episode with a bit more enthusiasm than I did last week. I watched back the edit, and I thought, oh my gosh, this guy looks so bored. And I really didn't mean it like that. I just think I was a bit tired that day. So apologies if everyone thought there was a bit of a flat start to the season.
Awesome.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Joey? Joey's got
Nice
a bit of
subdued.
antivirus, I think.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, I've got some kind of throat issue, but I'll power on through. I've got the deadly man flu.
Yeah, cool.
So, yeah.
Stay strong, Joey. Stay strong.
Oh, yeah. I'm here.
All right, so we're going to crack straight into it because I have a topic that I want to bring up. It might not be something that you guys have ever experienced, but it is a hypothetical situation that I want to run past you to see what your thoughts would be. And I need to stress that this is hypothetical. This hasn't
Asking
actually
for
happened.
a friend, huh? Asking for a
It's
friend.
very hypothetical.
Okay.
So
I like hypotheticals.
if
Our
you were
legal
to-
team have been in touch, Robin, yeah? Yeah, okay. They've vetted
If you
this.
were to get
okay.
if you were to get a job and it was an insurance job, you get called out by a third-party building company to provide a quote on a client's insurance claim. And you went to that client's house and they said, I need this piece of furniture replaced. This furniture is made of, let's come up with a theoretical timber, mahogany. And the client said, this piece is made of mahogany. And you looked at that and you thought, no, that's not. That's made of pine. And you said that to the client and they said, no, it's made of mahogany.
I get where you're coming
Right.
from. Okay.
How would you play that hypothetically?
Yeah, probably. I would probably keep my hand close to my chest on that one. That's tough, huh? Because on one hand, I would probably initially not see through the subtle subtext and just say, "Nah, bro, you are wrong. You don't know what you're talking about."
Because remember, the client might not be being underhanded here. He might legitimately think that is mahogany.
Yeah, I've actually.
You know it's
had
not,
that.
but he might not.
I've actually been almost in that exact position, apart from the client. I had a broken table. It was insurance, and the client said it's mahogany. I said, "Well, it sure looks like mahogany." Got it back to the workshop, and it was like just rubbish, scrap wood, whatever they had, and they had stained it all. And it didn't make too much of a difference on that one because I managed to throw some brown paint at it and it kind of looked the same. But it's tough.
And let's expand on the hypothetical and say that the timber that they said that it was a mega, mega expensive timber. So the price difference is massive.
I think as long as you itemized your quote, whether or not you believe whatever it is, you give the insurance company a quote and say, "This, what did we say it was?"
Mahogany.
I know. What was the piece of furniture? Do we know? No. So let's say desk. This desk is going to cost you $10,000 it's going to make it out of mahogany, and that's going to be finished this way and that way. And if they approve it, then they've approved the fact that, I mean, you may have missed that yourself, and it should have been pine, but you've said that it's going to be made out of mahogany, and if they okay it, then they okay it. If they're willing to spend the money on it, then, as long as you're upfront and clear, you're not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. You're just quoting a job in a specific timber. As long as you are specifying it, and they might come back to you and say, "You sure that was made out of mahogany?" And then you could say, "Well, we'll have to have a deeper investigation."
And that's the fear. So if I'm the professional in this hypothetical scenario. So I should know what the timber is. If they had an auditor come out and look at it and go, oh, hang on, this is not mahogany, this is pine. How come our professional that we engaged with didn't pick this up? Now he's liable for that extra cost. Or, and this is the argument that I have, because I have spoken to someone about this already, hypothetically. The person insured that for that particular timber at that cost. So they've paid the money through the insurance. If there was a particularly expensive timber that they've insured at that price, they've paid the money for it through the insurance.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think you might have to hypothetically talk to someone who knows more about it than we do.
And that's why I wondered if you guys had ever had that come up.
No, I've had to do insurance work where you have to build something like for like, and typically it's off photos because it's burnt down or something. In which case you just kind of guess it. And in actual fact, in that case, the insurance company, they say something along the lines of make it like for like to the best of your ability and available materials, something like that. So if it was some like, let's say it was Honduran mahogany that you can't get anymore, then you'd have to use something like it, like Sapelli or something. And so there's a bit of a loophole like there. But yeah, it's...
And then following on from that, like for like, if that original piece was dog shit, I wouldn't want to build it like for like because it's just going to either fall apart or, I mean, we can do it better, can't we?
That's why insurance work is no bueno. Like, they'll only pay. So, I mean, Brian, do you have any experience with doing insurance work?
My only insurance work was either refinishing from a water leak. I've done those a few times onto tables, and repair jobs, which have been work that I produce, which has been dropped by moving companies, and I've had to repair it. Which, like, there's not really any money in it, but I'm kind of doing it to service my clients. Like that's the reason why I do it. But there is obviously a massive gray area with this, and ethically speaking, it's kind of it's on the client, right? It is on the client. They're the underwritten party, so if they want to hypothetically commit something which might look like insurance fraud, they're the one who's liable.
It's interesting because back in the day when I was building, my dad used to do a lot of insurance work, and I would end up there because I would work for my dad. And so we did a lot of burnt repairs of a burnt, half of a garage is burnt down, say. And the first thing the insurance does is work out, can we just repair it? Because that's way cheaper than building a new garage. Okay, yes, we can repair it. And then the insurance assessor will come, you'll meet them on site, and they'll say, right, from this stud, kind of that way, you repair it. But this stud is technically in good condition, and it's black, charred black. But, they dig into it, or they drill into it, and they say, well, this char is only 5 mil deep, and the limit is like 7 mil deep. So this is a perfectly structural stud according to the specifications. So you leave that stud and replace the wall that way. And then anything
very specific.
Yeah. And anything with like smoke damage, oh, well, you've got to paint it with this special stuff, but the painting has to stop right here because we don't think those marks over there are smoke damage. So don't do that.
Wow.
And
yeah, I mean, the reality is that that's the insurance company trying to save themselves 50,000 or 100.
Absolutely. It's very prescriptive.
They're not going to send somebody out unless you're making $100,000 dining table, Robin. The chances of them paying somebody to site to do this kind of level of inspection, very, very unlikely, unless there's other damage in the house, like if it's a whole load of contents.
However, Brian, I have often get photos sent through from the insurance company saying, these are the pictures our client sent. Can you provide a quote? So they know what it looks like. and they have a pretty good idea what it is. The client will typically say, like, recently I had a water damaged Rimu desk, and it was all, I could tell straight away it was veneer on particle board or something like that. And I was just, I don't want to borrow this. Why are we even talking about this? This is just something from the 90s, just bin it, but they wanted it remade. Often it's not.
But that's the way insurance claims should work, right? When you're dealing with, like, it should be the insurance company. It shouldn't really be on the client to find someone, in my opinion.
Well,
anyway, like the insurer, I've only done, when I've done it, if it's been with moving companies that have damaged my pieces of furniture, the moving company have contacted me. So then because they're the underwritten party, so it's their insurance, but they've contacted me. It's nothing to do with the client.
I have had clients contact me and say, I've been told to get 3 quotes for my insurance. Can you give me a quote on this? And I'm like, no. I mean, the other reason you don't want to work for the insurance company is because they're not going to pay you for 60 days. So, like, do you actually want to make any money off it or not? Because you won't.
Yeah. This hypothetical situation was actually through a building company. So the insurer was talking to the building company contacted me. I went out to see the client.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
interesting. Yeah. Well, it's apparently insurance work is really big here.
Yeah.
The way you guys are saying it, you make it sound, well, I guess more so Joey, you make it sound like you don't get a lot of it. Whereas here, it feels like that's, cabinet makers do a ton of furniture.
I just don't take it on. I don't want to deal with the insurance companies.
But isn't there a better profit margin in it because of that grayness? I mean, can't you work without being underhanded or unfair? Can't you work that profit margin a bit better because you're working with a big corporate insurer?
I think for like a single one-off job, you might be able to. They might just go stuff it, or pay him what he wants, and the client will be happy, whatever. I know for a fact, I had a friend where my last workshop was, my neighbor was a panel beater, so collision repairs for cars. And they've got all the big insurance companies' logos on the front, and the insurance companies send them work direct. So if you are a part of whatever insurance company and you crash in the local area, they'll call these guys up and say, this client's coming in, repair their car because we're covering the insurance, right? So in order for them to receive work without advertising, essentially just the insurance company is just feeding them work, right? Yeah, so now I'm only going to pay you $500 to do that repair. Flat rate. So the guys working on the tools trying to repair the car, while they're getting this work fed to them, they've got to do it in like 20 minutes to make any money because they're not getting another cent from the insurance company for that particular job. It's like, if it's a front left quarter panel, it's worth this much money and we're not paying any more. So they actually screw down the guys who are on the coalface doing the work because they're like, well, we're feeding you money every week. We're just giving you jobs, but the tiny little jobs.
Yeah, I would say, Robin, just cover yourself the way Joey said. You provide an itemized quote in a few different timbers and just don't make yourself an accessory to it, if you know what I mean. Like, this is on the client. Here's my quotes.
Yeah. If it hypothetically goes ahead, then I'll give you guys an update. But yeah, there was definitely a bit of a curveball for me. All right, Joey, what's going on with you? Kitchen.
So last episode, I kind of was in the middle of trying to make a point about like workflow and timing, and rambled on about a kitchen job, and I kind of cut myself off a little because there's a bit more to it. So maybe you want to play the song before I get into this too much further. So what I was trying to say is that I had a lot of big jobs booked for this year, and there was 3 back to back. So it would have been April, May, and June, 3 big jobs, and I had to make sure that everything was lined up, ready to go. So April comes, this kitchen is meant to start, and like I said, the appliances weren't there. They hadn't bought them. I had all the materials ready to go, so I started what I could, and then I actually am still waiting for the oven right now. So, we're halfway through May, and I still haven't finished the kitchen. And so it starts to definitely encroaches on what was next, the next job, having space for it. Everything gets kind of thrown out the window a bit. And so it's you can have the best plans, but ultimately shit can go sideways on you. So what's going on? Robin's disappeared. There he is. So this kitchen is an oak kitchen with a dark gray stain. It's Osmo's graphite color, and it works really well on oak. Roll it on, wipe it all off, and you end up with this kind of instantly antiqued oak look. It's quite nice. It's nicer than just letting oak yellow off in our crazy sun in the southern hemisphere. And so client had some samples of this, chose it, and then when she saw I had started the staining, I'd stained about half of the kitchen, and she kind of had a meltdown a little bit about how dark the color seemed now compared to her sample. And so that just stopped everything in its tracks pretty much. I just kind of said, well, I'm stopping all of your work. Nothing's happening until you work out what you're going to do with this color, because she was asking questions like, how much have you done? Can we change it? How much is it going to cost to change the color? Or like, would I cover the labor cost in changing the color and things like that? And so I just kind of said, well, no, nothing's happening. So you let me know if it's going to be this color, or if we're going to change a color, and then it's going to cost you this much. By the way, whatever color you change to, there's no guarantees it's going to be exactly like any samples I give you, again, because wood is wood.
Mm.
And as it turns out, I was meant to send you guys my new terms, because I've completely rewritten my terms of trade after this job, and just really nailed down how specific, like, wood is different, and really people have got to like acknowledge that even if you want a certain type of timber, it's going to be different colors. So you can't have, if you want a consistent, continual color, you pretty much, you should use plastic. Don't choose wood.
Just on that, with your terms of service, because I don't think I've ever read one from a furniture maker, is it like a large majority of just legal jargon and then your additions at the bottom, or have you written it completely from scratch?
I wrote it completely from scratch, and every point was based on a quote unquote bad outcome for me from a job. It's like a learning experience where there was a paint color difference, but I've got nothing to do with mixing the paint. Wasn't my problem. There was people have complained about slight scuffs on a painted surface. Typically, if you're installing cabinetry, often the place has just been painted, and so you're going to slide in some cabinetry into a tight space. You might mark the paint. That's not really something I can control to your best of your ability. So something I've always said is, like, I'm going to try not to damage your place, but if I put a scrape on the paint, you're just going to have to live with that and have it fixed up, because
that's interesting.
It's not I can only do what I can do.
I would have thought that would have been on you. That's very interesting.
It just can't be, because you're asking somebody to bring in these giant cabinets, put them into a place, even with all the lifting power in the world and the technique and the experience. You at some point you're going to put a scrape on something. Now, a scrape is not a hole. If I smash a hole through the wall, I'm going to fix it. I've done that before. You drop a cabinet in the corner, it goes through something, it happens. But a little scuff up where the paint's not even broken, it's just a bit of a mark. This is just half of the course for this kind of work. So things like that, there's a whole lot. But now it's a whole page on timber color and grain direction and density of timber and its biological nature. And that's completely on nature, not me.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I'm still haven't finished this kitchen, and I've got, I just told the people, look, I can finish your jobs, but I've got no timeline for it. I'm going to do it as I can, fit it in between my other work, and you'll get it when you get it.
What was the
response?
Exactly the question I was just about to ask.
Response to that?
Yeah.
Oh, so the result was that she met with her interior designer, and the color's fine. She's happy as with it. So there was no need to fret. Of course, that's just put the whole timeline completely out the window. And as far as I know, she hasn't directly responded to timeline problems. They just are happy for it to be something moving forward.
Okay, so she sounds like a pretty amicable client then.
Reasonable, yeah. But just completely stuffed the whole timeline for everyone. And it's very difficult. On one hand, I feel like I should just stop everything and just smash out the rest of her work. But then other people are going to be left waiting because of this decision. And that's not really fair.
Yeah, you can't do that. And when you say, you said to her, when you get to it, was there any indication of a time?
No, I just said there's no timeline.
So it could be in a year.
Because I still don't even have the oven. I can't finish the kitchen yet. So
okay, well, I guess that works in your favor then, because that's an external roadblock then.
Yes, and so essentially what I've said is, like, their kitchen island is taking up a big part of the my workshop. Once I can get the oven, finish that, I can then take that apart and build the next thing in that space. But I'm not going to take up more space in my workshop for their job.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So yeah, that's just a weird old story, which tends to happen to me.
So what are you working on now then, while that's on hold?
I'm doing a pretty cool, I might put something on Instagram on this. Pretty cool, what do you call it? A counter, front entrance counter for a business. And they just it's like a digger bulldozer hire company, but they want a cool looking front desk thing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
just
cool.
Like a very manly gray laminate and red oak kind of.
Quite cool design focused on your end, or just straight lines?
I just came up with it and said, how about this? It seems like it would be fun. He said, yep, do it. Just get it done. Like you know how when you go shopping for clothes, you just walk in, pick up a pair of jeans and take it to the counter, and then you walk out of the shop. Ladies go in and they take 20 pairs of jeans and they try them on. 4 hours later.
Careful, Joey. This is dangerous territory.
The Shop Stool Podcast does not endorse this opinion at all.
What I'd like to say is, it's interesting. So we all know the difference between how men shop and women shop.
Yes.
These
are statistical differences, yes.
We're dealing with a manly man who wants a cool thing for his business. He sees a picture of it and just says, yep, do it. Here's the money, build it. That's very cool.
Ideal client right there.
Yeah. just easy, nice work. So the other thing so we've just finished CNCing out a new skateboard mold. I haven't made skateboards for, I don't know how long, some time.
This is for your
Sorry.
son?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, just a couple of things there. You've CNC'd the mold.
Yes.
So why do you need a
Like
mold
the
for a
press,
skate?
yeah? Like the
Yeah,
press.
Oh, okay.
To press the
yes.
deck, to curve
Yeah.
it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
buy veneers, 7 veneers. You make your own plywood, but it's got to be in the shape of a skateboard. So you make a mold, the top and the bottom, and you squish them together. And now that I've got another new press, I might as well keep a skateboard in the press. Well,
I saw your Instagram post about that.
Yeah, and
You
that
got it
wasn't
from someone.
That's not what I actually wanted it for, but now I'm like, let's just do it. So I glued up a couple of giant blocks of plywood. I've got a couple of skateboard molds sitting there, and I'm just in the kind of working out how to get veneers from Canada, North America, to me. So
Why from there?
it's really the only place.
Really?
Is that because you need specific skateboard veneers?
Yes, is one answer. So
Yeah.
it's very esoteric. Like I could get into the weeds on skateboard.
Do it, Joey.
Veneers.
Come on. Give us a
I mean,
deep dive on skateboard.
here we
veneers.
go. I'll line you up. Aren't veneers all the same?
Well, actually, Robin. So there is a generic skateboard veneer. They're all 1.5 mil thick, and there's 7 ply. So the layout going from top to bottom, you've got 2 long plies, then a cross grain ply, then a long ply, then a cross grain ply, and then 2 long grain. So you're making plywood up. What you can do is you get the cross grain veneers 1 mil thick instead of 1.5 mil thick, and that makes a slightly lighter, slightly more rigid skateboard. Counterintuitive. Also, what I like to do is make 6 ply veneers instead of 7, and the kids find them easier to flick because they're a little bit lighter and a little bit easier to handle, and so the kids find them easier to learn with. So that's something I always did, and so yeah, it's really just a bit of a side hustle because there used to be 3 people pressing back when I was doing it in New Zealand, and now none of them are going. I don't think anyone is pressing in any way anymore. There's a few people designing boards, but they're just kind of being printed overseas. So
Is that just because from a cost perspective, you just can't match the international
it's
market?
pretty stupid. Like there's no money in this. Like
Yeah.
There is and there isn't, because I think there is a market for people asking for New Zealand made skateboards. And so you could put a price point on that if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But so more into the weeds again, so China's making skateboards by the million. They do it differently. They use I might get this backwards. I'm pretty sure that the Chinese are using a hot press system where they are literally heating up their molds, and they press 10 boards at a time, and the glue will be dry enough in 30 minutes so that they can take those 10 out of the mold and put the next 10 in. They still have to leave that for about a week before they process the timber to fully let the glue cure. But a cold press system, which takes longer, more like 2.5 hours in the press, is a way better bond. And so when you first start skating, the boards, they feel about the same for the first day. But the hot press glue loses the rigidity, what I guess we call the pop, and they stop performing within a week easily. But a cold press glue will maintain its pop right through its life, pretty much. And the Chinese boards are like, a branded Chinese hot press board is like $50, whereas an American made cold press board is like $150. But there's a massive difference in it, in what you're actually buying.
Yeah. But I guess it's about finding that if you were looking at this being a a business opportunity, you've got the product before the market, essentially, which is, if you were going to make this your entire livelihood, is a pretty risky way to go.
Yeah, so I used to buy veneers. You'd get a pack of veneers for $37 landed. That's what
When
I
you
used
say pack, that's enough to make one board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here, and it's like $70 to buy a pack in Australia.
Yeah, that I think I know who you're looking at, and so their head
$80.
office.
Sorry, $80.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So if you go to that company and buy direct from them in Canada or America, wherever they are, it's down to about $20 or $30 New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
If you're buying more than 10.
Yep.
But I'm looking at some other companies, and I could probably get down to $25. If I buy, say, 50 boards worth, I could probably get $20 for the veneers. And then you've got glue and sandpaper and stuff.
Do you epoxy, Joey, or how do you press up the?
So all the big guys use PVA, and they have a catalyst, which means it can go off that much faster in the mold. But I would just use whatever I have. An alphatic PVA, like a yellow glue, would be fine. So my secret ingredient always used to be that I used polyurethane glue. I used Gorilla Glue when it first came out, and which is waterproof, and it's pretty much indestructible, and it maintains some flex. So the problem is the stiffer your glue, the more it cracks. So if you use
cracks,
epoxy,
right? Okay, so epoxy would be useless.
Yeah, it's completely useless. So you want something that's got some spring to it. And the polyurethane glue is perfect for it, and also waterproofs the boards, so they last way longer. It's just that much more expensive, and it's messy and gross. So I won't be using polyurethane glue this time around. But so that's just a fun little side project that's going to keep me busy making skateboards again.
I got myself a vacuum chamber a few months back.
Right.
And I because I had all this like rotted out mango from a tree that I was drying. And I had this whole big idea of, it's actually up on my website now, of starting a side business doing stabilized knife handles out of mango. To be fair, it was also, I'm kind of interested in it, and the upfront cost to get all the machinery is pretty low. So it was more of an experiment as well. But anyway, I spoke to a local knife maker here, and he said, "Oh, that's fantastic. You know, there's no one in North Queensland that stabilizes." And my immediate thought was, "Oh, brilliant. I can corner the market." But I soon figured out that all the people up here in North Queensland don't shop here in North Queensland. So you would need to put so much time and effort into marketing yourself and getting your name and brand out there. It would become a full-time gig. Yeah. And it's kind of made me reevaluate this idea of, I can see a business opportunity. Let me jump into that. First, you've got it almost makes more sense to get the business, get to a point where you are, the clients are chasing you for more product. That's when you make the big investment. Just making the big investment up front, I don't know if I'll necessarily do that again. Certainly not with a real big investment.
Yes. I mean, something I don't want to have to do, and I don't know a way around it, but as soon as you put a website up and say, I sell whatever, skateboards, then you've got to start shipping them. And that just is a whole other business, keeping track of, tracking people's orders and where did
Inventory.
It go. It's stuff that is not what I want to do with my life. So
I think it'd be a cool thing, right? If your son did get into making, that's a really cool thing. It's something that they'd engage with in terms of if it's a hobby of theirs. Yeah. Albeit the margin might not be enough to sustain an adult who's trying to put food on the plates for their kids, but in terms of pocket money, and then they sell them to their mates, they sell them at school, they sell them at other schools, they go to markets, you teach them about business, that's where it really starts to become an awesome thing.
That's exactly what I did. I mean, I started when I was 13, and all through high school, I had this money coming in from selling skateboards. And I was making, everyone else is working at the supermarket pushing trolleys, and I'm making skateboards. Now, granted, I spent all my weekends making skateboards and not skateboarding. So, like,
The entrepreneur life.
yeah, that was like the downside, right? But that's such a, I mean, you just learn everything you could possibly learn about small business when you don't have to pay overheads. If you're a kid
Yeah.
living with mum and dad, and everything's profit, like it's like, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got my laser, I had this, my daughter saw one of the first things I made, because I had some bearings lying around. I made one of those fidget spinners. And I showed my daughter, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to take it to school. And I just saw dollar signs, everywhere. But then I soon realized being in the school to promote it is very different from being the dad of someone in school.
Yeah.
So trying to get a 7-year-old to go in there and push product is it's not as easy as it sounds, and that opportunity died very quick.
You've got to wonder things like the fidget spinners, like you said. You've got to wonder how, like, what came first? Is that a chicken or the egg? Did somebody come across this stupid little toy and either ordered a million of them or found a container of a million of them and then somehow marketed it so everybody needed a fidget spinner? Because they were just suddenly around. Like, it's like the manufacture time was already there. It was done. It was like,
but this is what I go back to with the knife blanks, the stabilized knife blanks. You need the trend to be there, and then you jump on it. Don't try and be the one who starts the trend, because there's too much risk in that.
Yeah, it's the niche of the niche, though, Robin. Right? Like, as bespoke furniture designers, we are already at the right up at the peak of where niche is. And the second you go to knife makers, how many professional knife makers are there in Australia?
You know what we need to do?
Less than 10? How many amateurs would there be? You're maybe looking at another
couple of
hundred. I don't know.
What we need to do, and this is purely selfless interest because I know all the listeners would love to hear him talk again, is get Aidan back on the show. And, maybe I can just drop a couple hints here and there and get some promo that way.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He had some pretty cool stabilized timber when I was making knives with him. I think he just, for his classes, at least for students, he prefers to use that kind of plasticized handle just for, if it's not epoxied on perfectly, if it's, it's not going to fail. And just the longevity of it as well, getting battered around versus a wooden handle. But yeah, it would be interesting to get him back on again.
There was Aidan from Cutthroat Knives.
Rather than selling the skateboards, could you do skateboard classes, or is it too much of a pain having multiple presses? Or could you just do them all in one big vacuum bag?
For a second, I thought you meant Joey teaching people to skateboard. I was like, that's very left out of field.
Yeah.
People do that, and I'm not sure that I agree with it, so I won't talk about that too much. But yes, I've thought about making skateboards. A lot of kids, everyone in my high school wanted to make skateboards in the woodworking class, and it was just like way over the teacher's head. Had no clue how to get there, and because it's a pretty long process. And in those days, there was no CNC, so making a mold was difficult. So yeah, you could definitely do classes. What you would probably do is just have a couple of kids help you glue up one board and see how that process works. And then for the rest of the class, you're going to make boards that are already pressed, cut them out, drill them, and shape them and stuff. Because really what you want to do is have it in the press for 2 to 3 hours and then leave it for a week or a few days to really cure properly.
So they could nearly, like, if you did actually run it as a regular thing, you could nearly have them pressing the boards for the next class, right?
Yeah.
And then it just sort of gets recycled. So you could do it in 2 sessions, couldn't you?
Yeah. The problem is, like, having I can run 2 molds. I've got 2 presses now, but Yeah, I guess that's doable. It's quite a lot of work to make the mold. It's a bit of a process.
Do you make your molds out of foam or out of MDF, or what do you use
Stacked up
as the blank?
Whole
Plywood,
big
stacked
block
up
of plywood, and just
Yeah.
most of it becomes sawdust. And
Yeah.
I'll show it when I've got them cleaned up. I'll put them on Instagram. So what I do is my mold is designed to take one skateboard between the two halves. So about a 10 mil gap between the two halves of the mold. But you can increase that amount in odd numbers. So 3 or 5 and up to like 9 or 10 with the big boys with the big press. But you can imagine if you are curving anything with a radius and stacking it, the radius becomes either more mellow or tighter, depending which way you're stacking it. And so each board in a stacked layout is a different shape. And so the big boys will sell them as shape A, B, and C for different types of skaters. So the middle board is the one you designed for, the best shape. And then any boards that are pressed on top and bottom of that will be mellower. So they'll have a mellower kick, a mellower concave and stuff. And they'll sell that as a different shape, but really it's just the byproduct of mass production.
And surely that shape is marginally different at that point. Or to someone like yourself, a skater, would you notice?
I could probably pick it, but between boards 1 and 2, pretty similar. Between boards 1 and 5 or 1 and 9,
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Huge difference. Yeah. Massive mellowing out of the board, and it is pretty rubbish. So, but this is like super esoteric stuff that skaters learn over some time, but most people just look at the picture on the bottom and want the cool picture, and that's what they buy. So,
man, it would be such a cool thing to run as like a Father's Day thing where you get your kid and the two of you come in and make a skateboard together, because there's enough sort of dads of our age and who maybe aren't skating anymore but loved the whole culture of it.
And just make one each. Make a skateboard each. So that's the other thing we're doing. I'm going to invest in I'm not sure which brand, but some kind of vinyl cutter. And we could just make custom graphics on the spot, cut out a giant big vinyl sticker, stick it on. So, put whatever you want. If you're coming for a class, say, you could have completely custom skateboard finished by the end of the day. It'll be pretty fun.
Yeah.
So, that's not going to make me any money, but it's going to be fun. In fact, it was going to cost me money, to be honest.
It's just got to be mega fun then, that's all.
Yeah.
So this week I've been working on those teak cabinets that I mentioned in the last episode. And this is maybe a hot, controversial take. Teak's okay. It's my first time cutting it up. It's okay. I don't know what I was expecting, unicorns and rainbows to explode out of it or something with the way everyone talks about it. But it's fine. It's a nice chocolatey brown color, which I guess not a lot of timbers have. But it's certainly not a beautiful red eucalypt. My opinion, anyway. Come at me, fight me in the comments.
I think what you probably haven't discovered yet, and I'm not sure what kind of joinery you're going to be doing, but the beauty of teak is that it really just cuts and machines beautifully, yes, but especially when you start getting into it with hand tools, it just cuts where you want it to cut. It's a bit like walnut, where it just does what you think it should do. It's not going to split and tear and crack on you, hardly ever. So it's just really nice. It's got the right density. It's not so hard that it's going to blunt everything. But it just works really nicely. And I think that's half of why it got such a good reputation.
I will say there was one of the glue ups I did was a bit subpar, and I had to, with a block plane, just knock off an edge or a bit of a lip, and it planed really nicely. I wouldn't be saying that about a eucalypt because that's sadness trying to do that, but it planed really nicely. So I can sort of see what you're saying there. The other thing, so obviously this is my first time working with teak. The waxiness on your fingers, it's bizarre. It's such a strange feeling, and then it just is gone. The waxiness just disappears after a couple of hours. Very strange. I've done a couple glue ups with it so far, and everything's been fun. I had, I think it was Ben, Soul of Bespoke, contact me to say, remember to wipe off that oiliness, epoxy. And I sort of mentioned about how in the last show, Joey, you were saying that in your testing, it hadn't really made a difference. So far, all of my PVA joints have stuck. So hopefully it's going to continue that way. I also mentioned the teak oil to him, and he wasn't sure. He hadn't heard of that. I just wanted to, there was an oil finish, right, that you were talking about.
It's called teak oil. I mean, it's
okay.
Counterintuitively, I think certainly when I first came across it, I was like, how do they get oil out of teak to make oil for wood? I don't understand. But then I was like, no, it's specifically just for teak. It's oily as stuff.
Yes, I might look into that later on.
You know, the whole glue thing is funny because, teak has been used and was milled to extinction pretty much for hundreds of years. And people have been gluing it up forever. And they didn't have thinners and epoxy and all of that jazz. They did use animal glue, so that is slightly different to what we use. But I think it would be interesting to test whether animal glue does anything specifically different. But it can't be that different to PVA. In fact, I would have thought PVA is much more technically appropriate for gluing timber. So you would have to think, it worked fine for a long time with people.
I think it's one of those. Oh, sorry. Go.
No, I was just going to say, look, glue can fail, and some glue joints probably do fail, and perhaps it is because of a particularly waxy board or lots of factors. But I would say it's not necessarily required to always be wiping off that surface.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. Maybe this sort of thing has always been around in all fields, but the internet has supercharged it. This idea of parroting, and I'm not saying this was Ben parroting it. I mean, he may have actual experience with it, but there's that idea in furniture making of parroting things that make sense.
Yeah.
Even if it's a 0.01% of improvement, it turns into a black and white issue when it's not.
Never put your plane down on its face or whatever.
Right. I throw mine against the wall just to prove them all wrong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But anyway, time will tell. Hopefully it's all going to be fine at this point. I've just got boards lined up. I don't have enough clamps because all I'm doing is panelizing everything because I'm making two of these things and they're both the same size. What's been nice, and I've actually got it up on my screen here. I have allocated all of the boards. So I've itemized all of the boards, got the exact lengths, widths of usable timber, took it all, allocated boards to parts, and then I've written down a plan. And I went, the thing with this teak is because it's quite expensive, I just don't want to stuff it up. Literally, there's like a 30-point plan on the order that I'm going to do it. I then took my SketchUp drawing and took the parts for almost each step of the plan so I could see what the parts would look like at each step. It is so cool building like this. Like, if you can, put hours into your plan, it just takes away all of the drama.
Yeah, I've done it the way you're doing it before as well. And what I like about that process is you find yourself working with less and less pieces of timber. You start with 50 pieces and you glue them all together. You got 25 and then you like plane them all. And then everything becomes less and less and less of the same kind of process. And the processes might become more difficult, but the way you process timber like that, you end up suddenly with only a few piles from all that wood, but they're in the right shape and size. So it's quite good.
And what I'm finding when I originally quoted for this job, because this was rough sawn timber, which I don't have much experience with. I mean, I get the concept, but I haven't worked with it very much. When I spoke to the timber company down in Brisbane, and he explained what it looks like, it's some of the boards are 140 wide, some of them are 150 wide. So I just said to him, look, just send me all of it. I don't think it's going to be enough. I'm probably going to have to contact you in the future, but I just send all of it and I'll get started on that. It's actually got to the point now where because of the, allocating it correctly, I might even end up with a bit of it left over.
Yeah, nice.
Because it's been properly, moved around. Yeah.
It's always the challenge like for smaller makers, or if you don't have the space, you have to be really super accurate with your cut list, because you might not have the space to store it. You might not have the budget to buy a pallet of timber, even if you've got the space for it. So yeah, it's rewarding. There's less waste. It's better for the environment. Puts more money in your pocket at the end, effectively, if you don't have to buy 30% more. Yeah. It's a challenging way to work, but really time consuming.
Yeah. I'll any project. So after this one, I think I mentioned in the last episode, I've got this glass cabinet, which again, for where I am, is still a relatively big, in-depth project. I'll go the same way with it. While we're talking about projects, I just published a video for the first time in months this week.
Yes, I saw
it. Yeah.
The project itself was pretty small, pretty weak. I had no business putting that on the internet because it wasn't that good.
Come on, Robin.
But the reason I did publish
I've seen worse on the internet, let's just say, right? Yeah.
The reason I published it is just because I thought the story was quite interesting. I had this client who wanted this pot holder thing, casserole dish holder thing for their kitchen. I've never heard of it. No one I've spoken to has ever heard of it. It must be something from that generation, because she was quite old, and that's going to make sense in a second. She was quite old, and she was such a lovely lady. I said, I can make it out of straight pieces, or let me do some bent laminations for you. It'll be cool. It'll look nice and modern. And her response was, well, which one do you want to build? And it just, my heart melted. This lovely little old lady letting me have a crack. I got into it, and then about 2 weeks into it, I rang up because I wanted to ask her something, and her number's disconnected. She's disappeared.
Yeah.
And now because she's old, I don't know. And that was the end of that project, because then I just haven't been able to get hold of her again.
No.
Yeah.
We can all understand that life happens, so sometimes people do disappear. However, in future, will you take a deposit?
Please, Robin.
No, well, this is the thing. So, right, for this project, the timber was my own timber. So I did not a cent came out of my business account for this project. My time was used, yes. My timber, which could have been used for another project, was used, yes. So I can't argue that completely objectively. Also, it was very small cost. But having said that, I still think there are cases where not taking a deposit is fine, because it depends on your client and your situation. For a kitchen, of course not.
Joey, have we taught this man anything?
I'm gonna blow your mind, Bryan.
Okay.
He's done it as well.
Just last week,
Joey,
yeah,
stop it.
But here's the but, because it has to be a but. This client has got a solid ball of greenstone, New Zealand greenstone, and they say it's a sculpture. I guess it's a sculpture. It's just like 100mm ball, and they need it to stop rolling off the table. So they wanted some kind of stand for it. So I spent about 45 seconds, and I drew like a donut and put some little legs on it. I said, here, you can have this for $150. And they said, all right, let's have that. So I CNC'd out this little ball, this donut, and I sanded it, and I put some clear coat on it. It took me about an hour and a half. and then I didn't take any money, and I'm just waiting for them to pick it up.
Hmm.
That's the kind of job you can do without a deposit. Because
Did you have the bit of greenstone?
No, I haven't seen it. I've only seen a picture of it.
Collaterals, what I think Bryan.
That
was
would have been
aiming
my
at.
deposit.
Yeah. But see, I think that's where like there's really no time and materials in it, and it took an hour and a bit out of my day. So it's like, okay, I can make a reasonable hourly rate for this 1 hour of my day. But yeah, so I'm kind of on your side, Robin, actually, with this one, because it's the same kind of position. You've got the materials, you spend a bit of time, you might learn a new skill, which it looked like you did playing around with bent lamb. But it really is the time. I only spent an hour and a half, and I don't think I'd give anyone anything more than that for free.
That is something where I got it wrong, is the amount. And this comes down to experience, but I didn't correctly anticipate how much time it was going to take. So I spent a lot more time on that than I was originally expecting. So I think I charged her it was like $500 or $600 was the amount. I spent way more time on that. So in that sense, I got it wrong.
And so either way, she might call you back one day, and you might have to give her the thing.
That thing's going in the bin. Everyone in the comments were coming up with, you could use it as a pot plant. You could use it for this. And in my mind, that it's halfway out the door into the bin already.
I thought it was a pot plant when I saw it. I was like, oh, pots as in pots, not pots of plants, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I have seen one of those racks before. Old fashioned kind of idea.
Yeah.
Who puts their pots on a counter? You put it in the cupboard.
I think it's something that was from like the 20s where you didn't have cupboards. You had like a side table and a kitchen table, and you had to make use of your vertical space.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, yeah.
Well, guys, I've been working on absolute bugger all. So instead, I thought it'd be nice to do a little wrap up of things that are happening as part of Melbourne Design Week, because we have lots of alumni from the show that are exhibiting pieces across Melbourne for the next few weeks. So we're recording today on the 14th. All these events run until for the next fortnight. So we've got John Goulder doing conversations at Chapter House. So this is right in the centre of Melbourne, Flinders Lane, 14th to the 24th of May. And he actually won the Melbourne Design Week winner for this. It's an amazing table. The photos look incredible. So I'm looking forward to getting down to see that this weekend. Then there's another show run by Craft Victoria called Feld, which is going to feature Jeff Humpson, Mark Lilly, and Balaji Teniola. So another brilliant show, some really cool work, some really interesting exhibition design as well, the way they've set out the pieces from what I've seen in the photographs. And then lastly, 101 Chairs by Friends and Associates. They've done quite a few Melbourne Design shows now. Melbourne Design Weeks. Adam Markowitz, Bernd Chandley, Patrick Adney, Alexandra Pontulio, loads of people, loads of designs. And that's at the Abbotsford Convent, 14th to the 23rd of May.
We've talked about that,
stuff.
didn't we? The 101 chairs. Didn't we talk to someone about that?
I think we spoke about it years ago. Yeah, years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody was mentioning it. But yeah, three brilliant things to see for the next few weeks. All of them free. Worth a look.
Awesome.
Wish I was down there to go have a look. You know, doing the show, and Bryan, with a lot of the guests that you get on that are a lot more design oriented, it's changed the whole, my whole perception of or vision of furniture making. And once you get into it, it all makes sense. I can see why these sorts of shows and these sorts of designers exist. And now I'm gutted that I can't be there to see all of this, because I feel like now it's taken years, but now I would appreciate it.
Obviously, if you can't get on, they all have websites. They've all got lots of photographs, but yeah, there's nothing quite like seeing the pieces in person. But it is a bit of a rabbit hole, Robin. Once you get sucked into it, yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. Try and get down to Melbourne if you can for the show. And we will be back in a couple of weeks. We've got some cool stuff being spoken about in the background. We just got off an interesting meeting now with someone. We will possibly have some more information on that in the coming episodes. But yeah, that'll be it for this one.
Awesome.
See you guys in a couple of weeks.
See ya.
See you guys. Bye.